on.
Hello, all you clay people. Happy Sunday. We have got a kiln opening for you. This is my first kiln opening since February. That's right. As many of you know who've been following me in ClayShare, you know that I had bilateral carpal tunnel surgery done the 1st of March and the 1st of April. No fools there, right? And so I've been recovering from that surgery, and it has taken me, we got sound somewhere. I'm going to stop talking for a sec. We had to move the studio. We have double audio. So I'll explain what's going on in a second as soon as Kevin fixes the sound issue. You got it? There we go. So this isn't my usual studio. This is my old studio. Our new studio is at our new house, but my kilns are still here because I don't have the electric hooked up at the new house, so I have to come down here to fire everything. So it's where my kilns live. So the reason you haven't seen a kiln opening from me is 1, I had surgery and I couldn't fire the big kiln, and 2, the big kiln and its baby that lives over there are down here, not at my home, not where our filming studio is. So all of our production gear and filming gear, we packed up this morning, drove it down here to this studio and set up a temporary production desk and area and lights and cameras and crazy stuff so we could do this for you today. This will be the only time we do it because the electrician is coming the end of August and my kilns will be moved to the new house, to the new studio. So I probably won't film another kiln opening until that happens. So it'll be next month. So hi everybody. All right, so Jack is in the house with my mom. So many of you know this was my house here and my studio out back in this barn. The house is actually going to be my mom's house now. So this is my mom's house, but I still have my studio here. My gas kiln, my great big 16 cubic foot gas kiln, and my Soldner clay mixer, those are out there in the kiln shed. They're going to stay here on the property, and I'll just do my gas firings down here so I don't have to move my gas kiln. So it's a win-win. My mom gets a house and I get a place to keep my gas kiln. So I can't complain about that. So all right, no, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. So in this kiln is the trays we glazed during Wednesday's broadcast. A sink I threw last October for my aunt's new house. She asked me to make. I don't usually make sinks, but I threw it for her. Might be the last sink I ever make because of the hand surgery. My surgeon told me there was a trade-off. I wouldn't live in pain anymore, but I might not have the strength I had. It may never come back. He said that's the only complaint. So we shall see with time if my hands recover, but I might not ever be able to throw that much clay again in that manner. There's other ways to work around it though, right? We'll figure that out. So
Your mom calls the house base camp.
my mom's calling this house base camp. Is that what it is? So my mom is calling this house base camp because out in our garden at this house, we had hung some Tibetan prayer flags around our garden and to protect our chickens because they'd flutter and everything. But all right, so a lot of trays in here, a lot of platters, a lot of big flat things that take a long time to cool down. I fired this starting at 3 o'clock on Friday. I did a 3-hour preheat because I had just glazed a bunch of pieces and I wanted to make sure those pieces were completely dry before I started the firing. The reason we do this is because if you glaze something and you put it in the kiln and it's still wet, what can happen is as that kiln is coming up to temperature, that wet glaze could actually spit off onto other pieces in the kiln. So if you ever open your kiln and you have the glaze from one piece has spit out onto other pieces, that's because that glaze wasn't fully dry on that piece before you started the firing. Even if you glazed it a few hours beforehand, it can take a couple hours, more than a couple hours, for those glazes to dry all the way. So if you ever had spitting, that's what it's called technically. Spitting comes from having wet glaze on your pieces that aren't fully dry when you fire your kiln. So there's a little bit of tidbit. So I did a 3-hour preheat so that would dry all my pieces so I don't have to worry about spitting. And then we did a cone 5 medium speed firing. Took about 13 hours total. This shut off at 5 a.m. yesterday morning. It is still a bit hot. It's at 144 degrees. Now, I don't recommend peaking, especially with trays and platters. You peek, you can shatter a plate. Don't believe me? Try it and see. You open this and cold air goes across the surface of that plate. Those kiln shells retain the heat. They're much hotter than the air temperature in your kiln. And what will happen is that piece will shatter from the cold air on top and the hot on the bottom. It'll break all your pieces. I've done it myself, and I see some of you have done it too. So don't peek, not at least until it's 150. I like to not unload till 125, but I said I was doing this at 2. So I'm in it. All right, we're gonna open this up. About the kiln vent, when my kiln hits top temperature, I shut the kiln vent off. I do not leave the kiln vent on as it's cooling. And the reason for that is I don't want to rush that cool. I want to have a nice, natural, slow cool. It's best for your pottery and the best for your glazes. So, very exciting. All right, so we'll just start with, not the pots, the cone packs. Now, I had to improvise on cone pack situation because I forgot to make new ones. So I took an old kiln pack and I broke the cones out of it and I stuck the cones in. And then I had a freestanding cone 4. So this is my 4, this is my 5, this is my 6. This was a cone 5 firing. So if you look, 4 totally melted, that's down, right? 6 hasn't really melted at all. It's just starting to bend, but 5, nice. This is perfect. So I know, according to my cones, that I got a cone 5 firing. So I'm really happy with that. Hi, everybody in North Carolina, from everywhere else. Where's everybody at? I'm seeing you from all over California. Lots of folks from California today. Happy Sunday. All right, so the firing, yes, the kiln is computerized, and it does keep track of temperature. That's great, but it doesn't monitor heat work. That's temperature plus time. The only thing that measures your heat work is pyrometric cones, and that is what matters for glazing. So in Twins Falls, Idaho, well, hello, and Boston's in the house. I might be in Boston the end of next week going to the MFA to check out the Monet exhibit. I love Monet. Hey, from New Jersey, Argentina's here. New Mexico, South Africa, woohoo! But I sacrificed a stilt. Yeah, but I sacrificed a little baby stilt, so this would cost me 50 cents, and I needed to know. So normally I'll make a cone pack. These are not for the correct temperature. These are a low fire cone pack, so they will not work for a glaze firing. But this is what a cone pack normally looks like, right here. So I just didn't have any made in down here. Life. I got plenty of cones though. Do you see them all on the shelf? That's not the problem. The problem is I got here and realized I didn't have any made. I didn't want to make it at the time of firing because they could have exploded in the kiln. So, want to see some pots? Arizona, Indianapolis, another Arizona, Ottawa, Canada, Arizona, 4 cone 5, Terry. Yes, so that was a cone 5. I had a cone 4, a cone 5, and a cone 6 in my cone pack. If you want to know more about using pyrometric cones and making your own cone packs, I have classes on both of those, because it's 2 separate things, on ClayShare. So you can learn and I'll walk you through it and all that good stuff. All right, so this little hexagon dish, this is actually from my pie plate class, basically the same thing, or you make a bowl, right? This one's a little deep, but it could be a deep dish pie plate. The glaze on here is Clayscapes cream on top of Laguna 90 clay. That Laguna 90 is such, oh no, this is Laguna 60. See the speckles? Laguna 60. It's a lighter colored clay, but it's yummy. The Clayscapes, did I call this cream? It's coastal blue. It's coastal blue. It's Sunday. I haven't had a day off this week. I'm trying. It's not working yet. So both of these were made this week, this month, this year. No, we took that Thursday off.
We took
half a day off. So this is Clayscapes Coastal Blue on Laguna 60 clay. So the clay has some speckles. It's a nice warm toasty clay. This yummy glaze shows the toastiness. Hello from Long Island. Hi. Yeah, Bobby, I have not had a kiln opening since February because of my surgeries and because there's not a kiln at the new studio. I have to drive down here and the filming gear's not here, and you know. All right, so both hand built. Love these triangle dishes. Made this with a GR pottery form. Love it. I don't know if you can still get the triangles like this. I've got them, but I think he's discontinued those. But the great thing is you put two together and it makes a square. It's pretty awesome. Should bring it back. So, hello from Denmark. Right, next, moving on. So this is a platter we made, I don't know when we made this one, maybe during Glaze Con. We used the sandbow lace underglaze decal here, and I put it on the tray when the tray was still a wet slab, and then I made the tray. So some of you saw the photo I shared of my cheese tray, my baking tray that I used as a cheese board in the serving tray. This is made very similarly, a little different form. You might notice this one has clipped edges instead of squared edges. So that's in a double foot. So can you fire underglaze plates that are greenware on top of each other? If the underglaze touches each other, it'll probably peel off. So I would not stack them on top of each other, no. You could tear that material off. So do them separate. I know, it's a pain and it takes up more space in your kiln. But this came out great. The clear glaze on it is Speedball. It's their clear cone 5, cone 6 glaze. And then I matched right here the blue of the underglaze decal. This is Speedball's Royal Blue. So if you want to match Sandbow Studios Royal Blue, we'll do it. So it turned out nice, didn't it? Trying to pay attention, but you're distracted by the Monet. Oh, Jennifer, Riley and I, when we went to France, oh my gosh, it was all Monet for us. So we're hoping to go this Thursday, Friday. The exhibit's here in Boston through October, but if you go, let me know. Maybe we can meet up. Go to Faneuil Hall, get some calzones. You know, good stuff. I used to live in Boston, so going back would be fun. All right. I'm going to remove some of these big shelves. So I have to walk off camera to do that. Oh, this is a good one that I get to share with you. Let me just take these out. I'll put that there. This is why I couldn't fire the kiln. Lifting these big heavy shelves were beyond what my hands could do until recently. So I was stuck waiting. Not very patiently, mind you, but I made it. Hello from Betty's Bay. Is that Betty's or Yeah, Betty's Bay. People from all over are tuning in. You just got a new L&L kiln. You can't wait. You're so excited about Monet. Who isn't excited about Monet? The broadcast is going to have been hijacked by Monet. Anyhow, if you live within drivable distance of Boston, I am not sponsored by the Museum of Fine Arts there, but it is my favorite museum next to you know, if we're in Paris at the Louvre, although the Musée d'Orsay is my favorite museum, completely #1, and then the Louvre, then the Boston MFA. All right, so we've got these 3 trinket dishes that I glazed with the same glaze, but they have a different surface treatment. Rev says hi to you too, Kev. So this is my Chun Blue, all by its lonesome, nothing else. Just my Chun Blue on a little lace tray we've been making, this lace I've been obsessed with. So you can see what my Chun looks like by itself. Very beautiful, subtle, little translucent quality. You can really see the texture through here. So what's the deal with having to have an element at least between kiln shelves? I don't know what the deal is with that. I've never heard of that. I don't do that. At least an element between your kiln shelf? Give me more info.
So like kiln shelf, like 2 shelves,
you
should have at least 1 element in the space between the 2 shelves.
Well, I think just because kiln posts and everything, you end up having, I don't have an element, like a whole section between shelves.
No, at least 1 element.
Yeah. If your kiln fires evenly, you don't need to worry about that. My kiln fires evenly top to bottom. So, you know, when you run a kiln vent, the air is circulating. That hot air is moving around your kiln and through your kiln. So you really won't have a problem to have at least an element. We'll check mine, but maybe I have at least one element. We'll see. Okay, so this is black underglaze that we applied and then we wiped back. And then I went ahead and dipped my chun. So look at the difference in our tone here. Chun by itself, chun with black underglaze. And you can still see your texture, but you get this more purpley, opally things coming out. So these are two, right? I did a third for you. This is Georgie's Sand and Surf pigment. We use this on Wednesday's broadcast. So this is the interactive pigment in sand and surf. And I don't know if you can pick it up, but compare it to the black. And let's see, comparing it to just the chun. So I will post a photo of the three of these and I'll annotate that photo with what's been done to each one so you'll have that information. But it's the same clay, Laguna B-Mix 5. It's fired the same way, fired in the same place in the kiln, glazed with the same glaze. The only difference is what was on the surface first. Make sure an element's showing for each level, not blocked by a shelf. Maybe, I mean, that I think's what she means. You have a blank section in your scut without elements. So April, I think it depends on your kiln. And if your kiln is such that you have a space with no elements, then that might be something you have to consider. Mine has a lot of elements. I don't have to worry about that. My kiln heats up. So every kiln is different. So what I get as a result will be different unless you're using the exact same kiln as I'm using and firing the same schedule as I fire to. So maybe those with a manual kiln with no vent helps sometimes to get enough heat work throughout. Exactly. And you know, when I fired a manual kiln without a vent, also when I fire my gas kiln, there's a lot of different things to consider. So it all depends on what your kiln has for elements, you know, if it's manual or computerized, all these things. But learning your kiln is really important. That's something that can only happen through experience. I have fired this kiln 57 times. So I've fired it a few times. It's 2 years old this July. So it's a 2-year-old kiln. I've fired 57 times. It's every other week I fire this kiln. And then my baby kiln, I have fired like 40-something times in the year I've had it. So know your kiln, know how your kiln works, know what areas are hotter. I had a scut kiln in the past that was very uneven. I could never get that kiln to fire evenly. So I knew it was much colder at the bottom than the top by a whole cone. And so you have to compensate for that when you're using glazes. You have to know your glazes and know if they like to be hotter or colder. So did I get the quad elements? I think maybe I did. I don't remember. It's been 2 years. I can't remember 2 years ago. I'll let you know. If Drew watches, he'll tell us. So you're in Portland, land of Georgie's. I love Georgie's. I'd be in so much trouble if Georgie's was near me. All right, anyhow, cute little dishes. And I'm going to remove this shelf and then we'll talk about what's happening there. All right, so this one is another little dish I did, and I think this is an interesting comparison as well, because it's also black speedball underglaze, but the glaze on top is Amico Aqua Celadon, 2 coats. So let's compare it to my chun with black, Amico Aqua black underglaze, my chun with black underglaze. So you can see the difference right there. And now we can compare it to the Georgie's Sand and Surf Interactive Pigment and then the Aqua. So this beautiful, beautiful little dish right here with the black. I love it. Yours is manual, so no vent and takes all day to fire. Thankfully, it's low fire. I've been there because I've had manual kilns in the past. I mean, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kilns so far. Currently, I've got 3 running that I run, and I've got a 4th one coming. And I have 1 upstairs in storage. So just, that's all I currently have, right? Kevin's like, I don't know how many, he doesn't know how many kilns I have. We're going to keep it that way. He doesn't need to know. He doesn't need to know how many kilns I buy. That's not his business. It's a business expense. I can justify buying more kilns. No. I've been making pottery for a while, so I've had a few kilns. So do I use the firing cost feature in the L&L? I actually, Jim, do not use that. I have not. I should. So I can't tell you if it's accurate or not. Yeah, that's terrible. I should be able to tell you that. So we've got these two little dishes, Speedball Clear under glaze, on top of Sandbow's new little butterfly decals. And I made these because we got this big tray here. Wait, hold on. I'm going to move the shelf first before I get into that tray. We're going to open this side up. Some women collect shoes, though, Jessica. So you guys know, I don't buy jewelry. I don't go on vacation. I don't buy new cars. I don't buy luxury things. I buy pottery supplies. That's what I spend my money on. I buy kilns and equipment and glazes and clay and stuff, and that's what I do. But you know what? That's what I like to do. That is what makes me happy. So that's what I spend my money on, right? We all can spend the money on whatever we want. So here are 3 little dishes, and we glazed these on Wednesday. And what I want to show you is if you're looking for a clear glaze, let me just hold this one up. Oh, a moth just flew into my kiln and actually fell down. Did you guys see that in the camera above? So this one right here is with Speedball's Cone 5/6 Clear. And what I want to show you is the surface. You know, if you're looking for a good clear that works on underglaze decals, are you seeing the surface quality? I just want to show you that it's not pinholing, that I'm not getting crazing or anything on there. And the gas one, the gas kiln. And I might be getting a raku kiln. And I do plan to build a wood fire kiln down the line. So never ends. So here's clear on the back, you can see. Clear on top of, you see the shimmer? The light, the glare, that's the clear. If we don't put, let me just show you this. If you don't put a glaze, now you can't glaze this, it would stick to your shelf, right? But the underglaze doesn't stick. But this is what it looks like, just to show you in the light. If you glaze over, if you have a foot ring, and you can, this is what you'll get. If you don't want to, you can keep it matte. You don't have to glaze it, not at all. Kevin, that's funny. Cheaper to keep you. I didn't see all the question. Yeah, so you can't find Speedball Clear in a gallon. Lori, reach out to Clayscapes Pottery. They, I'm sure, could get you some. I buy it by the gallon because I would use so many pints of glaze, it's not funny. I've got enough room now on my property for more kilns. You know it. I know. And that'll get me in trouble. So,
like, plus the gas kiln.
Plus the gas kiln. Well, he knows about it because he was there when I built it. He helped me build the gas kiln back in 2007 when we built that. So, these turned out great. Happy. I didn't get any smearing. You know, we were talking about that when we were applying the underglaze or the glaze to the surface. We're talking about we don't want smearing, we don't want bubbling or peeling or any of that stuff. You want a raku kiln. Well, we're going to be kind of building one with Drew in Drew's raku workshop. That's how I think I'm getting a kiln, is I think I'm going to be getting the parts and helping build a kiln. So they nest in each other, which is great. But even better is I got this big tray here, same design, so I can have these guys right here. I'm going to put them in. So we've been talking about the month of July for my ClayShare members. You know, we've been talking about making sets, and sets can be completely up to you as far as interpretation goes. This set is a tray with little serving dishes. And so for entertaining, you'd have the tray and then the little dishes and whatever you want to have in there. But this is one set option. We also made espresso cups and saucers. That's another set option, right? So lots of set options. You want a salt kiln. Yeah, I love salt firing. I don't know if I'll ever have a salt kiln. I have a friend who has one, so I'd probably just put the few pieces I would ever do. I would never do salt, you know, we all have our own aesthetic and things we like, and although I love salt, I don't think I'd ever have my own salt kiln. Although you can get away with making a sagger and doing a salt like firing in a, we can't get into that tonight, but today. But there are ways around it if you don't have one. So how do you decide what you will fire in an electric kiln versus what you will fire in? Well, it depends. So an electric kiln is an oxidation atmosphere, a gas kiln is a reduction atmosphere. And so different glazes are meant to go in each kiln. So there are glazes that will work great in a reduction kiln that are not good in an oxidation firing like an electric kiln, and vice versa. So it all depends what you want. Most people use their gas kiln for cone 10 reduction. So you get a specific look from that. That's what they do cone 10 for, or they do a salt or a soda firing or a wood kiln firing, and those are all high fire. When we do mid-range, which is what cone 5-6 is, that's the most common kiln that's most accessible for everybody, right? And there's also low fire, which is 04-05. So for me, right now, I pretty much do all my firing in the electric kilns. I'm not really doing gas firing right now. And there's a long story about the gas firing and why I tapered off firing the gas kiln. It came to the fact that I was a production potter making a living off of selling my pots, and I would take my pottery out to sell it, and all the pieces fired in the electric kiln would sell, and all the pieces fired in my gas kiln would just sit there. Nobody wanted those glaze colors because there's a toastiness, a earthiness, it's different. So over time, I migrated away from my gas kiln and more to my electric kiln for making and selling pottery. Plus, when I'm teaching you all, it's easier to teach an electric kiln than it is to teach a gas kiln because it's a huge learning curve on a gas kiln. There's a lot more to consider when you're firing that. All right, let's see. More questions. The big pot in the very bottom, well, let's hope it made it, right? We're hoping it made it. You just found me this year. You love watching my videos. Oh, Amanda, I'm glad you found me. Yay. So you're here with two of your granddaughters glazing pots. What a way. Can we move on from kilns? Well, there's a kiln opening. Kind of. It's about kilns, right? I don't talk about kilns in your kiln opening, lady. So this one right here, sandbow under glazed decals. Kevin's laughing. I teach people how to make pottery for a living. What do you expect? Me not to tell you about stuff? I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been teaching for like 15. I was a college professor. How can you not expect to learn from me? All right, anyhow, this is Sambow's new summertime under glazed decal, and I put it on with clear glaze. We made little trays a couple weeks ago, and this is the result. Again, with that speedball clear. Can I explain how I remotely turn off my fan? And you wondered what functions I can access on the app for Bartlett Genesis. So really all I can access on the app for Bartlett is to see what my kiln is doing. I can't really control the kiln from the app. You can monitor it. The kiln, I have a Casa outlet. It's a smart outlet that's plugged into the wall. And I have the app on my phone, and you just turn it on, turn it off, and that's it. It's really easy. All right, so anyhow, another little tray, signed on the back. Cute, cute, right? Great little fun thing to make. Fun things. All right, more glazes coming out. Oh, we have a couple little itty bitty things from an upcoming secret class. It's Sunday. For some reason, I'm sassy today. I don't know what to say. It's summertime. I'm probably sleep deprived, and I had caffeine. Y'all are in trouble. So what size is this kiln? This is an E23T. It's about 7 cubic foot. Mine has 3-inch brick, so it's a little smaller than 7 cubic feet. Just a little, just a tiny bit. All right, we we got more pots to go. I did downpour all by itself. This is, let me put those down so I don't drop things. This is Amaco's Downpour Celadon all by itself, 3 coats of each. One of the greatest things about my business is that I'm so good at explaining the why behind things that keep happening. Well, I want you all to learn because I want you to be successful. I want you to have fun and enjoy making pottery. And if everything is a failure and you don't know what's going on, maybe I can help you and then you don't have failures anymore, right? So what's the difference between a salt and wood? Not all wood firings have salt added at the end. If it has salt added to the end, it's a salt firing. It's a wood salt firing. But when I do wood firings, I don't do salt. It just depends. You don't have to put the salt in. All right, so anyhow, this is downpour. And the reason I'm holding it is because I want to show you deep sea. This is Amaco's downpour. This is Amaco's deep sea. They're very close. The monitor doesn't even look like it's picking up the difference, but I'll tell you the downpour is a little brighter. And here's another example of this one here was the deep sea with black underglaze. So deep sea by itself on Laguna B mix, deep sea right here with black underglaze. So you can see that texture and how it pops. I mean, you still get the texture on this one, but it doesn't pop nearly as much as this. And this is just black speedball underglaze. So can you add gum solution to the 2167 to make it thicker for brushing? Oh, I thought you were going to answer. You can. I brush it on as is. I just thin it down. But yeah, you could add some gum solution to it to make it a little more brushable. Absolutely. Totally could do that. You love the downpour. Yeah, the downpour is nice. And the deep sea, I'm really partial to deep sea, but I've started using the downpour a little more. And so I don't know if you can really see the difference between deep sea downpour. Can you tell? Maybe if I hold it that way. Do you see the color shift? This right here is deep sea. This is downpour. Slight, maybe a little more purple. This one is a little purpler. So close though. So close. So anyhow, good options, right? For things to try out to make your texture pop. We got a big plate. Here's some little plates I've been practicing. We have a class coming up where the surface has some hand-painted elements. So I've just been practicing with painting with Mako Stroke and Coat, making some cute little flowers. This one actually is orientated that way. Pinkaboo, Mako Stroke and Coat on the entire thing, and then Hot Tamale Red and just Froggy for the flowers on this one here. That's it. That's all. Just painted it on. And then Mako Stroke and Coat in Cottontail for my white. So if you're looking for a white base to paint on, check out the Mako Stroke and Coat. It's really, really user-friendly. Can go low fire, it can go cone 5. So lots and lots and lots of options with that. So easy to work with. You did a glaze firing weeks ago and found a tiny black snake next to it in your workshop. Oh, a little tiny snake in your shop. Downpour is one of the Celadons from Amaco. Yes, it is. Downpour and Deep Sea are both Amaco Celadons. They're both blues. One's just slightly brighter. I think the Downpour is a little brighter than the Deep Sea. All right, here's another big plate, which I don't know what I was thinking the day I made this. I didn't go as heavy as I normally do on my rim color, so I should have gone a little heavier with the red. There's only one coat. So if you put Speedball underglaze on just one coat, you're going to get this more watery finish on your surface, more like a watercolor. Do 2 coats, you'll thank me. But this is a underglaze decal that we painted the border just so, you only use the decal that goes in the center. Maybe you don't want to cover the tray end to end, right? Maybe you don't want the edges to be the entire decal. Maybe you want to do a color. And what that does is it means you just need a decal to fit in that center. So you can save your material and it'll go further, right? So you love this shape, Jan, this one here? The spherical squares from GR Pottery Forms. Spherical squares. Say that 5 times fast. Actually, it's not so bad. What was it the other day I was trying to say? All right, so I have a great big shelf here. A little, you don't remember what, I don't know what you're trying to say. I can get it. So this is part of the reason why Jess has not been firing the big kiln, because the big shelves are crazy heavy. All right, did it break? I'm going to tell you a story about this before I take it out of the kiln. You can see on the overhead some of it. So this is a platter. Wait a minute. I got to ask a question. Aunt Darlene, are you watching? If my Aunt Darlene, not my Aunt Sheila, who I made the sink for, but my Aunt Darlene is watching, turn away until I tell you can look again. Actually, mute this whole thing. You cannot hear because I got your birthday present finally in the kiln, which I thought I'd broken because as I was loading this and I was putting the kiln posts in the kiln, I dropped one on the center of this piece. Aunt Darlene, you've muted, right? So she can't hear this. I dropped the kiln post on the center of the platter and it scratched the glaze off. I picked it up. I didn't see any breaking, but I was worried. So I have had fingers crossed. I'm really afraid if I lift it up, it might come up in pieces. So we're going to see. Downpour is translucent. Yeah, but it's a deeper Amico Celadon. So keep that in mind. Your texture's still going to show, but it's going to be more subtle. So right now, I don't see any cracks. I don't see any broken bits. I think we're okay, but I am I'm a little concerned. So let me see if I'm caught up. So when brushing on a dipping glaze like 2167, do I do multiple coats? I do not. If it's a dipping glaze, it's only meant to have one coat, so I just brush on one, unless you thin it down a lot, and if you do, then you'll do 2. So it just depends how you apply it. If you put the gum in it to thicken it, and which will thin down the glaze material, I know it doesn't make sense because you're thickening it, but the actual amount of glaze material that's in there is less because you have more filler, so you'll do 2 coats with that. So happy birthday, Aunt Darlene. My mom says I don't think so. Okay. So did I use brush on Jess's Chun Blue or dip? April, honey, these were all dipped because I was here where my dipping glazes are. But you could brush on my Chun, and if you do that, you're going to want 2 to 3 coats. All right. All right. It's a little hot. It's a little hot. I don't like that it's this hot. Sorry. So this is a platter I made for my aunt. For Aunt Darlene, love Jessie, signed 2021. A little lighthouse platter. The sun is setting, the ocean. I'll take some pictures, and this is going down on Wednesday to my aunt. So it's a little late, and we'll talk about this a little more. Maybe I'll make another. How's that? And I can talk about it. This one's been hard to talk about. Wait, let me grab it back. All the colors are Mako Stroke and Coat. And then I did apply the Stroke and Coat kind of watery, and you can see that, the wateriness coming through. This was a lace doily that I pressed in the clay. That's right, lace. I know. And then I did the painting on the lace. So, yeah, I put a clear glaze on top because I watered down the Stroke and Coats. So it's sweet. I made a sunset sky in oranges and peaches, but I could have done a blue sky. I mean, it just is preference. I wanted a sunset sky with a little red roof cottage, little lighthouse keeper's cottage. Downpour tends towards teal. Okay. All right. The only thing left is that sink. That's all that's in here. Thanks, Marissa. That's it. This is the sink. Carmen, this is stoneware. Everything that I've shown today is all stoneware, all B-mix except for the first 2 pieces, which were Laguna 90. All right, this is the sink. Have I said that 47 times? I'm afraid. So I'm just going to let y'all know. I made the sink in October, and I meant to get it glazed before my surgeries, but with looking for a new house, then finally finding a new house, and then all my other responsibilities and things in life, and then moving, and then surgery, I couldn't finish the sink. It just needed to be glazed. And then I got nervous because the glazes I used, I was concerned there might be issues if it pinholes, if there's crazing, if there's any crawling. Well, I can't make another one anytime soon. This is a one-shot deal. So if this is messed up in any way, shape, or form, my aunt doesn't have a sink. And I cannot make her another one because my hands at this point won't let me. I might be able to hand build her something, but not what she wanted. So this is for my Aunt Sheila. The other one was for my Aunt Darlene. My Aunt Darlene is my mom's sister. My Aunt Sheila is my dad's sister. So two separate sides of the family. So was the image lace? It was image lace. Yeah, the image was lace. And I'll do more of those, Kim. I waited to use that lace and do any tutorials or teaching with this. I'll grab it back. I waited, Aunt Darlene, look away, because I didn't want to give it away until I'd sent this to her. So now that this is going and she'll have it later this week, I can do a tutorial and showing you how to paint on lace, because it's a really fun thing to do and you can really make your lace texture pieces pop. You don't just have to have one color, you can colorize your lace. And there are some things to keep in mind when you're doing this. So, a sink's on your bucket list of making. I know, I made one, but not for me. I might never have one of my own. So, I was hoping to teach a throwing class on making sinks, but currently my hands will not let me. All right, that's enough. That's enough chit chat. Let's deep breath in. Let's go. Please be okay. Please be okay. Please, 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 please. Well, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Not at all. The colors aren't popping. It didn't break. I put one coat of seaweed. I thought I did 2 coats of seaweed. It's very subtle looking, isn't it? You seeing it from the top?
I can go full frame.
See, I thought we were looking at it from the top.
Picture on the top.
Well, I'm going to grab it out. So sinks shrink, right? So when you make them, they're going to shrink about, depending on your kiln, 12 to 20%, depending on your clay, 12 to 20%. So this started out significantly bigger than it is currently. This is a little small bathroom sink, not meant to be a giant sink. So I had some measurement constraints that she gave me, so I made it to her specs. It was 15 pounds of clay when I threw it. See if it's too hot to pick out. It's still a bit hot. Oh, no, oh, ha ha. Wait till you look at the outside. All right. I want to pick it up, but it's crazy hot. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to have to put it back in. It needs to cool because it's a really thick piece. You're going to throw your sinks thicker than other things because things are going to get bumped on those sinks and they're going to get used a lot. So you do not want them cracking. So I'm going to pull it out for you to see. But then I'm going to put it back in and we'll talk about it. And that's all I got today. So, all right. The outside is gorgeous. All right. The inside is much more subtle. That's pretty nice. And there's the very bottom. You're not going to see this is going to be mounted onto your vanity. But look at the seaweed. I did a video showing how to glaze this. And I will post that video tomorrow. So it's just a quick little, but I would not be unhappy with this sink. So remember, this is just a bathroom sink. It's not supposed to be huge. I hope my aunt loves it. I would say it's 14 inches across, probably. Would you guess 14? But it had to be bigger. I think it was 17 or 17 and a half before it shrunk down. So it's not a giant sink. I'll give you a tip. If you're making a sink and you use Laguna B-Mix, the hole in the bottom to work for plumbing needs to be 2 inches. This right here. Anybody out there who wants to make a sink today? Yeah, 2 inches when it's wet. Make a 2-inch hole in the bottom. B-Mix will shrink enough, it'll fit plumbing perfectly. In the US, I should say. So it worked out. I was so afraid we'd have pinholing I was so afraid we'd have crazing, but look, I'm letting the shine, the glare be on it, because you can see there isn't one single, see the throw marks from my little fingers? Nice, right? There isn't a single pinhole in it. Whew, I'm relieved. I was worried. And then my cone packs are in the bottom and they're fine. I don't care about them right now. I'm just happy. Seaweed makes everything good. The sink turned out, so the glaze on the sink is Amico Deep Sea and seaweed on top. And I'll put the video along with the finished sink. I'm going to let it finish cooling naturally in the kiln until it's completely cool to the touch, because right now it's 120 degrees. Still a little hot. So turned out great. You're in love. You're an aunt too. Oh, Aunt Liz is here. Hi, Aunt Liz. Sheila, you think Aunt Sheila's going to love it? So Aunt Liz is my Aunt Sheila's sister. I hope she likes it. I'm an aunt too. Of course you're an aunt too. You're my aunt. So funny you are. My eyes, you make me blush. My eyes are the color of deep sea. Aw. Christina, I love you. All right, so as far as everything goes, you know, there were some really, really great pieces in this firing. I think what I like the most is all the information we can get out of these smaller test tiles. You know, when I was glazing these, I talked a lot about make sure you do these small ones first so you have a lot of information before you glaze a big piece, right? So maybe you make a giant platter or a sink or something. You need a test piece. Again, my chun with Georgie's interactive pigment in sand and surf. You have to see it in real life to appreciate it. I don't think the lights can get into the little crevices and show how there's like little crystals and stuff happening in there. So can Aunt Sheila post a picture when she puts it in her house? I will ask her to. She's been building a new house. The problem is she started it before the world kind of changed, and so she's been trying to finish her house. So I'm just happy it worked. It's been a lot of sleepless nights worrying about that. She's live. Is she watching? Is Aunt Sheila watching, Aunt Liz? So what thickness did I throw that sink? I threw it pretty fat. I mean, right now it's about this thick. Good, a little fatter than 1/4 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch? 5/8 of an inch? 3/8 would be 3/8. About 3/8. 5/8 would be bigger. So 3/8 of an inch. So no, I want to be an aunt. You can all be my aunt. You can all be my aunt. So the sink turned out really good. I'm happy with the sink. If you want to make your own sink, I think from now on, if I make sinks, I'm going to hand build, but because I can't throw that big again until I work up to it. You know, this is all rehabilitation and physical therapy and getting back to where I was before. So, all right, everybody, that was a good kiln opening. I'm pretty happy. So now I'm going to load the kiln up for a bisque. Since I'm here, I might as well, right? That's not very exciting. I will see you all Monday morning. Tomorrow morning, we have our Good Morning Clay Share for premium members. We're going to talk, I wasn't going to do it, but we're going to talk about NCECA, because I had so many people ask about what is NCECA, what is it about. It's the huge ceramic conference that happens every March that has been canceled for the last 2 years. 2020 and 2021 were canceled. 2022 is slated to happen in Sacramento, California. Let's all cross our fingers for that actually happening. So I'm going to talk a bit about that tomorrow morning. And Kevin and I have got some things to share and just some updates and news on ClayShare stuff. So there you go. A hand build class, of course. Exactly. Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you want more pottery classes, check out ClayShare. I have hundreds, thousands of videos, and I do 3 live broadcasts every week. Actually, last week I did 4. Well, this one makes it 5. Because it's still last week, isn't it? Still the same week. We did 5 live broadcasts this week and filmed classes and loaded a kiln. All right, I'm going to go. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Sunday. I hope you do the same. Bye, everyone.